How are you all today? Thank you, Kevin, for the introduction, and Brian for those opening kind of kickoff remarks, because it does a really good job of kind of helping set the stage for my conversation here with you all this morning. And as I was introduced, once again, my name is Marc Williams, and I have the pleasure of serving as Executive Director alongside the 12,800 women and men of the Texas Department of Transportation. And we've got what appears to be a great program of topics here today, and we have a number of our staff that you're going to hear from as part of the program today, and to give you a good cross section of some of the many activities that the Texas Department of Transportation is involved in developing and delivering infrastructure. And I know we've even got a booth out front. I think we're recruiting, so if anybody's looking for a great place to work, I would encourage you to go and stop in and visit with our team over there, or really talk to any of our employees, just if you have any questions at all about some of the great things that are going on with the Texas Department of Transportation. So I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of help kick things off with the program here today, and to talk a little bit about, what TxDOT's perspective is when it comes to moving Texas forward and delivering transportation infrastructure here in the state. And to begin with, I think it would be appropriate. Let me make this go. There we go. Oops. To kind of give an overview here of just TxDOT in general. I know that we've got an audience that includes a lot of people that I don't need to explain what TxDOT is and what TxDOT does, a number of our employees here, but I also know that there's some people who may not be completely familiar with what we do as an agency and some of the things that we're involved with. And I mentioned the 12,800 men and women that work for our agency. Our mission is connecting you with Texas, and that's the focus of our team and what we do, and how we see our role is making those connections to not only different transportation modes, but people and places and economic development around the state of Texas, and making those connections safely and efficiently. And that's how we understand our mission when we talk about the Texas Department of Transportation. We're headquartered here in Austin, Texas. This is where the majority of our divisions are located. We also have we're under a 5-member transportation commission that's appointed by the governor, and they're kind of our policy-making board that oversees the agency itself. And then we have 25 regional district offices spread around the state, and those are locations where we put the work out, and where the majority of our staff are located, or in those districts. And in addition to those 25 district offices, and within those 25 district offices, we have area and maintenance offices just about in every county of the state of Texas. So we certainly do appreciate that we have got a significant reach when it comes to infrastructure here in the state of Texas, and impacting people's lives, and trying to do that in a way that is a positive for the state. Talk a little bit about our roadway system, what we manage, and what we do as an agency. We've got over 80,900 miles of state-maintained highways here in the state of Texas. Those include things like Interstate 35 and our interstate systems, and 183 and 290 here in the Austin area. And on that system, in 2021, cars and trucks, vehicles traveled an average of 574 million vehicle miles every single day. And then I should note that travel does not include what happens on our city streets like MLK out here in front, and cities and county roads. And if you combine all of those together, you get about 780 million vehicle miles of travel every single day. And so with that in mind, we on our state highways carry about 75% of the travel in the state of Texas. Yet we make up about 25% of the total road miles in the state of Texas. So there's a huge demand, obviously, on our state highway system, and maintaining and addressing that is very important. But in addition to miles of state highway, we also, on those state highways, we have a number of bridges. Bridge infrastructure is a critical component of what we do. We have over 55,000 bridges. That's 28,000 more bridges than the next highest state in the nation. One of the things that we're very proud of, an important focus on infrastructure these days, as it should be, is the topic of resilience and the quality of our infrastructure. And our bridge condition ratings in the state of Texas is as high or the highest of any state in the U.S., despite having the number of bridges that we have in the state of Texas. And so that has been and continues to be an important focus on us, is the quality and condition of our infrastructure. And we make that one of our very top priorities. But we're also more than just roads and bridges. And we have, as part of our mission statement and our title, we are a Department of Transportation, and we understand that that goes beyond just the roads themselves. We cover aviation. We have over 271 general aviation airports around the state that we as an agency are responsible for administering state and federal funding to. In addition to that, we have a maritime division in TxDOT. We've got over 20 maritime ports. We don't have direct responsibilities over those ports, but we coordinate with those ports through our Port Authority Advisory Committee. We also administer funding for transportation roadway improvements to those ports, that we work with the Port Authority Advisory Committees on understanding what the priorities and needs are. And then, as part of the current legislative session that's going on right now here in Austin, one of the things that we have been working with our ports and asking to address is the topic of additional funding to help cover deepening and widening of ship channels, and also capital improvements within the ports themselves for moving freight in and off of the vessels as they come into the port. And to date, both the House and the Senate here in Texas have endorsed funding for that and have included $400 million to help with deepening and widening of ship channels, and $150 million for capital improvements on the ports. That has to get passed, but the fact that that is reflected, that was in our request, that was in the House bill, that was in the Senate bill, that's a good sign for port improvements here in Texas. We also administer funding for rural and urban transit districts around the state. We have a very significant role in administering bike and pedestrian programs. And then in addition to that, on the rail side, we have over 10,500 miles of rail throughout the state, ranking us #1 nationally in that area in terms of the extent of our rail mileage. And we work very closely with our Class 1 railroads as well as our short line operators. And we as a state also maintain and operate a railroad itself, which is called the South Orient line that runs from roughly San Angelo all the way down to Presidio, and we're actively involved in working with Customs and Border Patrol to reopen a crossing of that line into Mexico, and hope to have that done here within the next year or so. So that gives you an overview of what we do and the extent of our system and our program. We'll talk a little bit about just what the need is and what the demand is here in Texas. Our population is growing. We are, by numbers, the fastest growing state in the U.S., 470 new people here in Texas. That represents 37.5% of the national total. So a huge amount of the growth in the nation comes here in Texas. And those individuals are not only coming here and residing, but they are also working and generating a lot of freight for moving the stuff that's related to their jobs and what they consume and what they produce. And as we think about and talk about our transportation priorities and our needs here in Texas, we have to, and we make a priority of focusing on not only the needs of our system in moving people, but also the needs of our system in helping to move the freight and the material that is part of a growing population and a growing economy. And as you look at the projections that are anticipated to occur over the future, and some of this comes from our state rail plan, and we've got a number of folks here today that are part of that effort, the vast majority of that is carried and will continue to be carried on our highways by truck. Our highways not only carry a lot of freight, but those are also the linkages that connect to all of the other modes that we rely upon. So, sorry, go back here. One more, step back one. So when we talk about what the keys are to being successful in meeting those infrastructure needs, really focus on understanding really 3 points: resources, projects, and execution. And as I kind of conclude, I'm going to touch on each of those 3 areas. First of all, resources. You have to have the people and you have to have the funding to deliver transportation products. And fortunately in the state and nationally, we've seen some progress in that area. I know everybody here is familiar with the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the IIJA, that was passed at the federal level. That added, in Texas, that added about $1 billion a year to our program. That's about a 20% increase in our federal program, about a 6% increase in our transportation program as a whole. But if it was just that, if we were just that, we unfortunately would be behind the curve right now in terms of being able just to keep up with where we needed to be before the bill passed. The cost of delivering infrastructure has greatly exceeded the amount of funding that the IIJA added to our program. Our highway cost index increased 30% last year, from January of 2022 to January of this year. The cost of building and maintaining our roads is now 30% higher than it was a year ago because inflation impacts and supply chain issues and labor costs that have gone into that. So we're just for the IIJA, we would be well behind the curve. Fortunately, in Texas, for about every $1 that we've received at the federal level in terms of new revenue, we've received $2 at the state level. And some of that comes from Proposition 1 and Proposition 7. Those are 2 constitutional amendments here in Texas that added things like oil and gas severance fees and vehicle registration fees and sales tax to what we do as an agency. And those 2 measures over the past year have grown by over $2 billion and are projected to continue to grow and maintain that increased level of funding coming to the state. And so that is very important when it comes to the topic of resources. When it comes to projects, you have to have the projects as well. And we spend a lot of time focused on effective planning and development of projects here in the state of Texas. And the guidebook that really puts and pulls all of those together was mentioned by Brian just earlier, and it is our Unified Transportation Program, our 10-year plan of projects. And last year, it was announced that plan hit a record of $85 billion. It included over 7,000 projects across the state of Texas. Recently, it was announced by the governor and talked about with our commission that our update to that that will be developed, and we're in the process of developing it now, it'll be approved at the end of the summer, is going to top over $100 billion for our 10-year plan. And so very needed projects, very needed improvements across the state and aimed at getting work ready, getting the plans on the shelf for us to move forward. But it's one thing just to talk about, planning. The final point is execution that I talked about. And, we can talk all we want to about resiliency and connectivity and smart and green and equitable and all the popular words that we have. But if we're not getting the work out the door, it's just talk. And we are singularly focused on getting these projects out the door and getting them going. And so we're focused on execution. And as proof to that, our lettings over the 5 years from 2017 to 2021, our new construction and contract awards averaged about $8 billion a year. We increased that last year to almost $12 billion a year, and we're going to maintain that $12 billion a year letting for a 5-year period here. And then we'll have to adjust depending upon where our revenues are after that. But that's a 50% increase in our project delivery and our project execution, and we're making that happen. One of the important tools to that, I'll just briefly mention, is modernizing our project management systems, our of our portfolio and project management information system. We took on in-house the effort to update our system for how we execute and manage the information on our projects, and we successfully achieved that. And that gives us very robust real-time insight now into the project status of permitting, design, right-of-way, utility execution. So we have confidence in the status and the schedule of when our projects are letting. And so very critical for us to do that. As I conclude today, I want to leave you on one more note, important priority for TxDOT and for our state, and that involves safety. Many of you are aware of this, many of you are not, and when you hear it the first time, it sometimes startles people. November 7th of 2000 was the last day that we had in the state of Texas where somebody did not lose their life on a roadway in our state. November 7th of 2000. Last year, we lost nearly 4,500 individuals on our roadways. We lost about the same amount the year before. That's a dramatic increase over where we were pre-pandemic. Across the state, across the nation, we were seeing a steady decline, steady progress. We were down to below 3,600. Extraordinary jump in that over the past several years. And we're not alone. That's happening in other DOTs all over the state. And don't have the time here to talk about all of the different factors that are involved with that, but it is a real challenge for our industry, something that we're focused on, and something that as partners with us in addressing transportation infrastructure and infrastructure across the board, I hope that you will continue to join with us in really a commitment to reverse this trend and help us in the streak. It starts with just one day, but it is something that is at the forefront of what we do, what we think about when it comes to transportation and our role in delivering transportation infrastructure here in Texas. I want to thank you all. Thank you for the opportunity to be here as part of the program today, and I hope that you all have a great Info Day, and appreciate your commitment to infrastructure here in the state of Texas. Thank you all.